So my topic for today is actually continuous professional development opportunities for librarians. The subtopic is keeping up with the market trends. So coincidentally, just as Rochelle has said, we actually met in a CPD program in Antwerp in Belgium sometime back. So that's my topic, just to explain to you how librarians can actually develop themselves professionally. Now, CPD is different from your usual learning, the one that you have to go and obtain a PhD or a master's or a degree or a diploma. So this is basically the training that you add on to what you already have. And if I just go to the next slide here.
Your screen is not there.
Okay.
And Armin, your voice, can you increase the voice or something setting? Your voice is not much clearly audible.
Is it audible now? Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Only the screen
So I'm just
sharing. Now screen is not visible.
okay. Sorry. Oh. Anyway, I'll just go ahead and then slowly I'll be able to share the screen. So CPD by definition is basically a lifelong process of learning and continue personal development. This is what you do after you've obtained your academic degree. So this is where you actually maintain and enhance knowledge to complement your current job and your future career progression. In other professions, people are required to obtain certifications like in ICT. If you're a networker, you're required to maybe do the next stage. If you're an accountant, you might require maybe do CPA and ACCA. But for librarians, I don't think we have a specific standard of certifications. That's why it's just upon any librarian to.
Hello, there is no screen.
Oh,
there is no screen, Mr. Arnold.
Okay, sorry. Let me do this.
Earlier it was visible.
Yeah, I thought as much. So I don't know. Okay, I've tried to share it again.
Yeah, it's okay now. It's okay now.
Right. So moving on. So of course, people will ask why bother? Why should you? What's the point of doing CPD? So for organizations to be effective and able to deliver outcomes, there needs to be skilled and competent staff. And of course, in the nature of libraries, as we know, there's a law that says libraries are growing. So libraries grow. The way libraries were a decade ago is different from now. And you can imagine if you had obtained your degree, say 20 years ago or 15 years ago, you need to retool, be able to know some of the new and emerging trends. That is why CPD is important. Now, for CPD, you might not, it is not a guarantee that you get it, but you have to be aggressive. Later on, I'll be showing you some of the opportunities in CPD. So I talked about trends. What are some of the emerging trends? There's some topics that were relevant 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but right now they're not relevant. So when you talk about emerging trends in 2020, 2019, of course, going digital has never stopped being a trend. People still go digital by adopting new technologies. It's about repositories, about websites, Web 2.0 interactive sites, and all that. Then the other aspect that is trending is expanding online presence, reaching out to Generation Z. This is where libraries actually have social media pages like Facebook and Twitter, and right now we even have Instagram and TikTok. So that's one way of actually reaching out to users, so that you're not just having a physical library. Let's say if you have new books, you can share links to those titles on your social media pages and all that. And then another trend that I've observed is cutting costs for students. Traditionally, we are used to, libraries implementing fines for overdue books. And there's a study that was done that actually showed that this actually prevents some users from borrowing books in the library. So cutting costs, we've seen quite a number of university academic libraries who have actually stopped uh, giving fines over the book. And that's a trend. Maybe you can consider it. Of course, it has advantages and disadvantages. There are some libraries who rely on this as income. But again, when you look at the end gain, would you rather gain money and lose users, or gain users and just manage with the budget that you have? And then, of course, incorporating research stuff into library management. So one part of being relevant in the library is actually having professional librarians who've actually done more than just the degree or master's. So librarians who actually do research. And one gray area is systematic review. Like for me personally, I'm involved in systematic reviews where we work with scientists to do a bibliometric analysis of sorry, Vishali, could you mute? I think there's some annoying noise that's coming out. I don't
It's already muted all. Everyone is muted.
know. Okay, all right then.
And you just
So
increase your voice little bit. People are saying me that your voice is poor. Yeah,
okay,
I am also muting myself. Sorry.
okay, that's fine. Sorry. So I'll try and talk louder. So I was talking about systematic reviews. These are basically bibliometric analysis. So libraries take part in bibliometric analysis. That's a trend where you actually do literature review for scientists and researchers to give a literature review paper. Then we're also looking at discovery services. Those are trends. Of course, we know about Salmon and discovery service. Right now, we have Google. Google has a very nice discovery service. And then RDA cataloging. Of course, I think most people right now have either embraced RDA or are on the way to moving away from the mark cataloging and moving into RDA, which is more descriptive. And then data repositories. Of course, by now, most libraries in India and Kenya and other parts of the world have traditional repositories, the ones that you put thesis and past papers and manuscripts, open access. But that was a trend for, I think, 10 years ago. So right now, we are moving into data repositories where you actually archive data. A student does research and they use maybe R or SPSS to actually analyze their data. So data in raw format, that is what is actually put now in data repositories. And there are quite a number of examples of data repositories whose format is not just is not PDF or JPEG or MP4, but here you're talking about big formats like CSV, TIF format, big data. So that's a trend. And then maker spaces. I believe we have quite a number of public librarians here. So maker spaces are basically innovative spaces where people don't just come to the library to read books, but they can even do 3D printing. Like I've seen these days, people are doing 3D printing of these PPEs of COVID-19, yeah, such things. Then, of course, innovative library services. Quite a number of services. I don't know if maybe other people can give suggestions, but I know these days there are libraries who lend laptops, bicycles, telescopes, not just books. So it's more than the conventional kind of library services. And then, of course, green libraries. This is where you have green buildings. That's a trend. So I'll just go next on to innovative library services. So we've talked about some of the trends, and in terms of services, I don't know if in India you have this, but there's a time when I was doing my fellowship in Ohio, I saw a technology petting zoo, the library, the service, where people could actually bring chicken and show children how chicken hatch the eggs. That's actually a library service. People prefer coming to see it physically, and that could happen to any other library. Then, of course, a digital media lab. That's an innovative library service. A technology help. This is digital literacy, where you help users to apply for passports, apply for birth certificates, apply for any government services or health services. Then, of course, customized reading recommendations. This is where, just like what we call deep guides. So you actually customize recommendations for your users so that they don't have to come to the OPAC, but you actually give them and tell them that if you want to do anything in, say, insect science, these are the best resources. And then libraries as incubators, I've already mentioned about creation spaces where you actually have an innovation hub in a library. Then, of course, coordination with schools and literacy efforts. In Kenya, I've seen an initiative where a public librarian, and even some academic librarians, they coordinate literacy efforts for schools. Yeah, could be a storytelling exercise. It could be book drive for borrowing and all that. Yeah. Then quiz nights. Quiz nights. This is a very interesting service where an academic library or a public library would hold a cocktail party where people just come to have a quiz night. You ask questions, the winner gets a small token, some small money. Yeah, those are some of the services. Then seed library. These are also some of the innovative services. So all these services, all these innovative services that I'm talking about, I actually learned them through CPD. By attending a number of continuous professional development courses, that's how you're able to know what is trending, what are other libraries in America, in Europe, in India, in China, what are they doing, or even in Kenya. So moving on, unique library collections. These days, people have music instruments checkout program. You don't just lend books, you can lend a violin, you can lend a guitar, a piano. I've put a link there to one of the libraries that is doing that. And then also a library farm. This is where you do food literacy, teaching people how to cook the indigenous foods. Yeah, mostly this is relevant in a public library. Then, of course, other services like telescopes, art prints, book clubs. Of course, book clubs has never been old. Books on wheels, street library. In Germany, I saw a street library where people borrow books and put in other books. So some of the unique collections. Then just an example of academic libraries in terms of what they're doing, become innovative. They collaborate with scholarship and technologies in higher education. And of course, I've also mentioned that being a hub of research, academic library can do a lot, like using extended reality technologies. And then looking at artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, this is a very new trend that I actually learned from one of the programs I attended in Washington, DC. So these days we have robots. This picture that you're seeing is a robot called Libby. Libby is a reference librarian at University of Pretoria in South Africa. So those are some of the facilities that it has. It has facial recognition, voice recognition, 360-degree spot rotation. So when a library user goes to Libby, and you can just talk to Libby and tell Libby, I want a book in mathematics. And then Libby will give you the call number. Then you can go with it to the shelves. So these are some of the things that you learn from CPD. And then I just put some trends here. Data everywhere. This is a trend that I also learned from continuous professional development when I was in OCLC. This is where data is actually put in different servers. We have cloud computing. And then, of course, maker movement. These are the reading spaces. Reading spaces. You can have spaces for innovation, spaces for art, spaces for mathematics, and things like that. Then, of course, Internet of Things. I believe we all know Internet of Things. And then we also know design thinking. Design thinking is very is a way of approaching things, getting a prototype. It's mostly applicable in public libraries. And then, of course, facial recognition these days as a way of authenticating users in the library. Instead of using the traditional fingerprint, you can have facial recognition, and people recognizes your eyes, and then you enter. Then, of course, I've talked about robots. And then short reading. Short reading is a trend whereby people don't want to read the whole book or the whole article. So this can actually be put like just how abstracts are. We have innovative technologies like I know Myloft is an off-campus access software which can be put in a mobile or a tablet, and you can read short forms of items. So what are some of the opportunities for CPD? Of course, the major one is conferences. And I believe there are so many conferences that you might have heard of. Some of them are self-sponsored, some of them give sponsorships. I've been lucky to attend very many conferences. I think traveled over 22 countries, I think. So one is the IFLA. IFLA is the biggest conference for librarians. This is International Federation of Library Institutions and Associations. It normally happens every year in August, but I think this year, because of COVID-19, it has been sold, I think. Then there are quite a number. There is the American Association of School Libraries, American Library Association. Now for ALA and IFLA, they normally give some sponsorships to first-time attendees. So you can be given sponsorship if it's just a ticket or a ticket and accommodation. Then you sort yourself out in terms of subsistence and local travel. There's also another one there called UKSG. I also attended that one. Is normally in London. For all the librarians in the UK, talking about the United Kingdom, all the countries in UK. It's also very, very informative. You learn a lot. You learn about all the emerging trends. You meet all the prominent authors. You meet all the prominent publishers, and you are just able to acquaint yourself with the good networks. And the UKSG, they also give some sponsorships. Another one is OpenCon. OpenCon is for open access. They give sponsorships also for some people, so you can also try that. Moving on, because I can see my 20 minutes are almost up. We have Library 2.0 virtual conference. I will share this presentation so you can see, you can look at these conferences and go to them directly. Websites. There's most of them are in the US, where they give sponsorships. Sometimes people from Asia, they also get sponsorships. Africa, we get sponsorships. So it doesn't mean that if a conference is in America or UK that you do not qualify. You can always apply for this. Because the whole idea is CPD for all librarians in the world. And then, of course, we come to MOOCs. What is a MOOC? MOOC is an online massive open online course. That is what MOOC stands for. So MOOCs and webinars. A MOOC could be a 5-week training whereby you log in and you have an account and you have to keep on attending the classes for a period of say 2 or 3 weeks, and then after that 3 weeks you're given a certificate. So I know of Elsevier Library Connect. They normally give MOOCs and webinars, and they teach all about all these trends that I'm talking about. They update you on that. And most of these MOOCs are free. That's the good part. You see, for conferences, you might have to use your own money or you have to get scholarship. But for MOOCs and webinars, most of them are free. There's Research for Life. I know you know about Research for Life. They give access to free resources. You know, we always give free webinars. WebJunction is also a webinar platform based in the US. Then we have publisher webinars. Most publishers nowadays, they give webinars on either open access publishing or marketing resources, and you can always benefit from this continuous professional development. And then we move to self-learning. Self-learning, this is where you don't actually need an organization to help you. We have so many, and I know India is very good in programming. We have so many programmers in India. So most of these programmers, they don't go to class. They just do self-learning. Code for Lib is a self-learning portal where you can actually go and learn how to code open source software like DSpace, Koha, all these open source platforms. You can learn there for free. So, but that one needs a lot of commitment and determination. Then we have Digital Frontiers. We have INASP CPD courses. There's one that I found in India. It's called Librarianship Studies and Information Technology. They actually give courses on librarianship, and this is given via video. So they have professors teaching on video, and you can actually download and record and all that. And then, of course, fellowships. This is a major part of continuous professional development. These are now where you actually go into a fellowship program, like like the postdoctoral fellowships that scientists go to, and doctors. So this is where you actually go for a program of say 6 months, 2 months, 1 month, 3 months, and you actually either work in a company or you go through different courses. A good example is the OTLC fellowship that I attended in 2018. I think by now it has trained over 100 librarians from all over the world, including India and Kenya and Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, so many. I met so many people from there. And then there's this one called Vlerios. This one is the one we were with Bushali and Joel, and I can see also Fred Otike here and Silas. All of us, we met at this fellowship in Belgium. This was in 2014, I think. And then there's another one for India. I think India also has a lot of money because they give this sponsorship. Is it ITech? I've seen so many Kenyans go for this fellowship in India, and they give them some money so people come back and buy land. Anyway, so there's another one called Chevening British Library Fellowship. This one is in the UK and it's given to Commonwealth countries. I think, I don't know if India was colonized by Britain. If so, then you can benefit. Kenya has had many people benefiting from this fellowship. Then there's another one called Houghton Library Visiting Fellowship. and another one called Smithsonian. Of course, you know, Smithsonian is a very big library institution in the US. They normally give fellowships. And then IFEL is the Electronic Information for Libraries. I happen to be the country coordinator of IFEL in Kenya. And they sponsor people for public librarians. They go to attend fellowships, conferences, and even INASP, they do the same. So let me conclude by saying that a librarian is an active intermediary between the users and resources. And CPD of a librarian is actually unavoidable, indispensable. Well, this is how you ensure adequate services and continuous improvement. And this I quoted from UNESCO 1994 during the declaration that IFLA was involved in. I urge you participants, go online, don't just sit during this COVID-19 period, apply for webinars, apply for online free, like this, what we have, this is a good example of CPD, what Charlie has done. So I think that's it for me, from me, thank you. In case of any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you, Roshali. I think I've spent 25 minutes, not so bad.
Yeah, it's fine. So it was a really nice presentation, and Arnold gave information about lot of fellowships, MOOC programs, and other programs. So is anybody having any question? You can unmute yourself, or you can just type your name here. I'll unmute for you. So enough, Miss. Sorry, I have a question, Arnold. So right now, IFL is giving fellowship for Indians also, or only for the African countries?
Sorry, IFL has is working with the low-income countries.
So I think India is not coming in that.
Yes, India, you know, you have so much money, but I know there are some fellowships that they give to all countries, not necessarily the low-income countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one more thing to be clear here, that Arnold gave information about Libet web program where we all met. Right now, Libet program has been stopped by Belgium government because of the funding issue. So now there is no fellowships available for Libet web program. Arnold, I am correct now, because
Yes,
Libet
yes.
web, yeah, they are not giving any fellowships for the students now. From 2014, it's the fellowship has been stopped. So,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah, some fellowships they come and go, but the whole idea is people need to be on the lookout. Just you can subscribe to newsletters for scholarships and
yeah,
sponsorships. You'll
yeah.
always find.
Hmm. So that is good idea. If you follow some blogs, if you follow some newsletters, so is there any fellowships open? Automatically, you will get the email in your inbox. So this is fellowship open, and then you can apply. So is anybody having any questions? So you can ask here, or you can write in chat box. Otherwise, I'll just call the next speaker, Joel. And I will share the PPT. I will share the feedback form in the chat link. I'm not going to send email to anyone. I'm just going to put in a chat box. You have to click the form and you have to give the feedback. Automatically, you will get the certificate. Don't worry about the certificate. We are having very good speaker here. So please listen to them. They are giving a valuable information. So I think there is no question. If you are having any question, you can put in chat box. Now over to you, Joel. You, Arnold, they want one information on MyLoft. Arnold?
Oh yes. Oh, MyLoft. Yeah, MyLoft is a very good. It's an off-campus platform that it's basically an equivalent of Easy Proxy, but now it has an upgrade where you can access resources offline, even when you don't have bandwidth, or rather internet, because it
And
basically saves.
okay. And they are saying that please expand the seed library. Seed library is the concept.
Oh, seed library. This I saw this
You
concept
start
in.
your video.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Audio is not audible. No voice.
Okay.
Yeah. No voice.
Okay, can you hear?
Okay, yeah, now, yeah.
I'm saying the concept of seed library is currently very active in Europe and in America, whereby because of the issues of agricultural, food security, and climate change, libraries are partnering with either the governments or NGOs, and they give seeds. So, like you can have a seeds for, let's say, mangoes or trees, and you actually have a section in the library where you keep these seeds. And then if it's a public library, when people come and they want information on how to plant a seed, you of course, being the librarian, you know where these books are. You get that information and you get the seeds and you give it to them. So it's a seed library whereby instead of actually going to buy these seeds from an an agrovet or a supermarket, the library is offering it as a service for free, or even if it's selling at a price, but basically a service. Because see, a library is where everybody goes, whether it's a public library or an academic library. And I actually found it to be very useful because that is where you train people in agriculture and you give them the seeds and they can actually go and do that. Even people bring seeds there for if you want to introduce a new seed in the market or a tree or something like that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you. Now over to Joel. Joel, are you there? Joel? Joel? Mm, till the time Joel is joining, see, I'm just telling you all that I am giving the feedback link in the chat box. After the end of session, you have to give the feedback and then you will get the certificate immediately in your inbox. So please don't type here about the certificate. Joel, can you hear me now? Joel? Joel, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Arnold, can you stop your screen sharing? Yeah. So now we have our another speaker over here, Joel, and I will just tell about him. Joel is a BSc in Information Sciences from Moi University. He's a Master's in Library Information Studies, Science from Kentia University, and currently he is a PhD fellow from Technical University of Kenya. He's having 12 years experience. He's gained from 4 different universities in Kenya, and currently he is working as a Deputy University Librarian at Rongo University in Kenya. So Joel, you can, yeah, I can see your screen. So it's on thank you message. So please go on first slide.
Thank you very much, Brushali.
Yeah. So you are audible to all, and I'm just muting my.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me now.
Sound, yeah, your sound is clear. No problem.
Okay. So thank you. As Brushali has indicated, my name is Joel Nakitare, and I want to thank Brushali and all those who have made this session for us so that we just share the experiences. Nobody thought about COVID-19, but it is here with us. So we really have to think post-COVID-19, what the future holds. I have been working in university libraries for the last 12 years or so. And therefore, I thought of sharing where I best know, that is the university library experience, but I'm aware with quite a number of people who are not in the libraries. I'm also aware with a number of people from outside India, but all the same, the whole concept of the library is the same. So my topic, which I would want to share with you this afternoon, is on the university library services during the COVID-19 experience. What are the challenges and opportunities that we have as libraries and as librarians? Again, just to give you an overview, I have 6 main sections. I'm aware that now we can't manage to travel as much as we should. And therefore, the first part of my presentation is just to give friends, most especially those from India, an experience of what it means to travel to Kenya, some little information about Kenya and about our library and university setup. Then from number 4 to 6, we will share the experiences during and after COVID-19. So briefly about Kenya. Kenya as a country are named after one of our mountains, Mount Kenya. It is in the central part of this country. That's where we derive the name Kenya. For those who have read a bit of history, it will be argued, but Kenya is a cradle of the human race, with writings pointing to that. We attained our independence in 1963. Our population as per last year's, that is 2019 census, we are at 47.6 million. Our official language is Swahili and English. Kenya is a very religious society, and the main religions are Christians, Muslims, African religion, Hindu, and the rest. Just as I said, to give you a chance to visit Kenya, for those who are able to see the screen, I picked a few of the pictures that can best describe Kenya, our athletics, capital city, Nairobi, the migration of the national parks, the two prominent people that maybe have been in our recent past, President Obama and Wangari Maathai, the Nobel laureate. Those are, both of them are from Kenya, and majorly Kenya is an agricultural society. And that's why I put there the tea. If you've been taking some tea in India, chances are that you've been taking Kenyan tea. Governance is a unitary state with 47 developed units. Our capital city in Nairobi. We are the leading in mobile penetration in the whole of Africa. Currently, studies point to around 91%. We are in the third year of implementing a new education system. That's 26333, and it comes with the whole new opportunities again. Then literacy levels are a bit high compared to other African countries, but a point to note, our reading culture is still like any other countries with different types of academic libraries. We have academic libraries where the universities fall, and I'll be sharing a bit more on that. We also have a national and public libraries. Currently, there are around 60 branches in the 3 counties. We have, you notice from the national library, they're not enough. And because of inadequacy of the public libraries, we are now seeing a lot of community libraries coming up, being pushed by communities, NGOs, or individuals. School libraries are at around 2%. Most of our schools don't have school libraries. And the last category I've brought up here, I've not listed all, is special library, where a friend will come from. A few other tips of just the initiatives that will be of interest to any librarian that are happening in Kenya. The free textbooks, a program for all schools. Previously, I said we don't have librarians in schools or libraries, but the funny thing is that the government has a textbook program for all schools. It will be interesting to maybe another discussion how those books are managed. Mobile libraries through the Kenya National Library Services, and I've put there a picture of one of our mobile library, very popular, the Camel Library. It is used most especially in the desert or the dry areas, ASAL areas in Kenya. One of the emerging trends in our libraries, both public, community, school is the adoption of technology. It is really increasing. And the last thing I thought of just sharing to give you a view of what is happening is that now libraries is a devolved function in this country. Back to the university setup where I belong, we have 31 public chartered universities, 18 private universities, and we also have 14 universities which are in the process of being officially given the charter to operate as full-fledged universities. So in total, when we talk about university libraries in Kenya, we are talking of about 63 universities. And they are majorly divided in private and main. Private and public. The private ones are owned by the individuals, organizations, churches, or religious organizations, while the public are owned and run or funded by the government. So just a few highlights of the status as it is now in Kenya of the university libraries. Majority of our universities are partially automated. They are running a hybrid, both the collection of a print collection and the electronic collection. And quite a number of them also, almost 95% of our university libraries have adopted Koha open source as their main library, integrated library management system. Of course, we have a few other systems in the country, but majorly both private and university libraries are on Koha. Security systems, the most common one is the 3M, but RFID is also coming up. Again, a good percentage, almost all of the university libraries now, they have adopted digital repositories, and majority they are running on this phase, though we have around 3 or 4 universities running on different platforms. And then the staffing of our libraries, majorly in the libraries, they're equated to the teaching staff. And the last bit I need to mention is that as librarians, university librarians in Kenya, we have a very strong and active consortium where the first presenter, Mr. Mwanzo, is a board member actually. And it has been very, very useful in negotiating for us a number of items. So with that, I think just giving you the overview of the country, where we are, what we are doing, most especially on the academic libraries. So into COVID-19 and the experiences, these figures were as at today. I think it has become almost a daily update, and quite a number of us, we are up to date with the figures. But I thought of giving you this so that you're able to see India and Kenya, the population, Kenya, the main population, 47 million, India, you are at 1.3 billion. So the challenges and opportunities might be the same or different, but I think the major point is that we're able to learn from one another. So there is an African proverb which says, it rains on those who can't see it coming. When rains are coming, if you are able to see that, and if you're able to look at the sky and tell that it is likely to rain, then it's possible that you will not be rained on. But when you don't see any sign, then you can easily be rained on. A question maybe to all of us is there anybody who saw COVID-19 coming? My answer, my thinking is none of us saw it coming. And chances are that many of us, if not all of us, have been rained on properly. So we are in the new normal. We didn't see it coming, but it is now a new normal. A new normal where schools and universities are closed. Our users are in remote areas, working, teaching, and learning from home. we have restricted movements. I am aware in India, for example, you're on total lockdown. Luckily for us in Kenya, we can still be able to move around, but still the movement is restricted. I'm actually presenting from the office. Then we are also seeing an increased usage of ICT, be it meetings, forums like the one we are having, and more so increase of a reliance on e-resources. The question that should remain behind our minds is that, well, new normal. Now, every country, every sector, every industry has tried to react, or rather to respond to this new normal. And I would share with you a few experiences, how Kenya has responded. Then we go down to the best practices, how we can learn from one another. So in Kenya, the Ministry of Education now is trying to run the syllabus on radio and TV. The big challenge and big question is how many students or pupils are able to access these gadgets. Then we're also seeing quite a number of schools and universities now trying to offer classes online. That is through platforms like Zoom, Google Virtual Classrooms, WebEx, and all other different platforms. But we are seeing an increase of that. An interesting one, 2 universities in Kenya have had virtual graduation. I saw my colleague, Frederick Otike, he works in one of the universities that had a virtual graduation. On the newspaper yesterday, I just saw one of the universities is preparing to offer examination online. Now, another question again for us to think about is, where is the library and the librarian in the new normal? Is the library doing anything? Can we be able to do anything? Are we in position to move with the rest? Or this is the time the libraries are going to die? So I've just picked a few screenshots to share with you. The first one, University of Nairobi, our biggest university. The Senate on 8th this month approved online examinations. How they are going to administer, I don't know yet, but that one tells you that one of the new normal, we are likely to see students revising for exams from home. Are we ready to support them? Masinde Muliro University, one of the universities here in Kenya, the Senate met and they approved that in May, at the beginning of May, they are going to start their lecturers. They are going to resume their online classes. 2 other universities or 2 other examples that Kimathi have already mentioned, where a friend, Otike works, they had virtual graduation. Students were given their degrees online. Riara University held their virtual graduation also. That was 4 days ago. So the question again, sorry for putting across so many questions, but the question for us to ask ourselves is, what do these changes mean to the libraries and to the librarians? Are we readjusting? Are we seeing these changes? Do they mean anything to us? How are we supposed to respond to these changes? So again, allow me to just share still from the Kenyan experience, the notable responses that we are seeing. Some libraries, some librarians, and the consortia, the CLISC, that are trying to respond. Number one, almost all publishers, name them, Emerald, Inas, JSTO, they're trying to develop what I've called the COVID-19 packages. If you go to their website, almost all publishers, they have given free access to the resources. They have subsidized the rights. They are now trying to offer the remote access option from their end. And that is something that worries me. If you look at the emails coming from almost all publishers, they are assuring us that they are working to ensure that the remote access has been enabled, or it is much more flawless or easy to use and the likes? Is it one function already being taken away without us knowing? So librarians, we need to respond to this. And one of the functions that, one of the activities that I've seen libraries and librarians in Kenya doing, I've tried to list them here. One, librarians should take the initiative to share these resources that we are being given. I go to my email each and every day, I will not miss less than 3 or 4 emails from publishers. It is my duty as a librarian to be able to read, understand, and see who to share with. Don't forward everything to everyone. Try to know and profile your users so that you support them well. It is very easy to forward the emails, but at times forwarding these emails is doing more harm than good. We are overloading our users with information. We are overloading them with the passwords, and therefore they might not be able to use them as good, as well as we would wish. So librarians and users, we also need to take this time to learn and train ourselves on a few issues. There are various online training opportunities that quite a number of librarians are already participating in. I'm glad that we have a full session here. Maximum was 100, and we are at around 104. That one tells you that many librarians are taking the initiative to train. And therefore, please note that COVID-19 has changed our practice. We need to learn the new practice. How are we going to manage the new practice? Sorry, give me a minute. I'm having a small challenge with my slide.
Click on escape.
I have just escaped.
It will go. It will take some time. It's gets slower sometime.
Okay, I can still continue as I try to have the slide up. I was trying to talk about the notable responses that we've been able to see, at least in Kenya. And one of the universities that had picked up, Strathmore University in Kenya, of course, it's just an example, but I'm aware around 4 or 5 universities now in Kenya, they are back in session, full session. And what that one means is that the library is already trying also to support students who are back in session, but they are not on campus. So I got one of the libraries that I saw they have done a good job is Strathmore University. I've shared their link there. The library portal, they are on live support. Users can chat with them. They can be able to access their resources and the likes. But there are others like Presbyterian University and the likes. They are doing quite a lot. Now, what does this change mean to us? What does this sudden change mean to us? I've tried to look at the challenges from 2 perspectives. The first perspective is the users, and the second perspective is the libraries and the librarians. What do these new challenges mean to our users? What does this new normal mean to our users? The first one, please note that it was a very sudden change. No users was prepared, no user was supported. So you'll notice that even as we try to support our users online, be patient with them because many of them were not prepared
Joel, can
for
you
this.
go back? Can you go back to this slide? Because this slide is stuck here, notable responsible.
Let me try to.
Just click escape button or just go back because you are concluding good and we want to see that slide. Yeah. Just go now.
You're able to.
Yeah.
You're able to see that one now?
Yeah, just go on the slide. You can don't do Zoom now. Just go on the slide which you are talking.
Okay. Sorry for that.
Yeah, it's okay. It was, I think, last one, concluding one.
Okay. I can use the sidebar to scroll. Allow me to begin here. Sorry for that.
Yeah, this.
So,
okay. Thank you.
That is just one portal for a university library that has tried to reorganize itself to capture the new change. And you can see their online orientation platform. They had the orientation platform for all students. They used Zoom, and at least I talked to the library, it went down quite well. So I was at the point where I was trying to talk about the challenges that the new normal has come with. And I've categorized the challenges into two main categories. The first one is the users, and the second one, the challenges that we are experiencing as librarians and libraries. So the main challenge that I want to emphasize is that this happened abruptly, and the sudden change means that our users were not prepared. Then quite a number of our users, especially those from poor backgrounds, they might not be having the gadgets, the smartphone and the laptops. Some, at least for the Kenyan experience, some villages don't have stable power on the internet yet. Some come from very weak social background, whereby the cost of internet is very high for them. So even if you put your resources online and they have the gadgets, they are not able to buy the bundles, internet bundles every day. Some still have the phobia and anxiety to use the technology. Unfortunately, they are away. So if we are supporting them online, try to support them, knowing that not everybody is at par in using these gadgets. Then lack of adequate support online. I don't know much about the Indian experience, but at least in Kenya, most of our libraries, we don't have a well-developed online support whereby users can be able to learn at their own pace. Now, as I had already indicated that a number of publishers are giving us offers, and the easiest job for many librarians, unfortunately, some librarians think that when they share as much as possible, they are working. But in essence, they're overloading the users with information and passwords. A number of these publishers, when they tell you you can access their resources, they will still ask you to log in, to set up accounts. And this one, in my view, it's really overloading our users. And last but not least, on the user side, at least the Kenyan experience, our reading culture is still very poor. So even if you give them as much information as possible, reading is a problem. And for information, if they were not reading well the print resources, you can be sure reading the electronic one is even more difficult for them. Now, what does it mean to us librarians and the libraries? Majority of the libraries and librarians, like many other sectors, they were not prepared. Two, COVID-19 has had a very serious economic implication globally on all sectors, and libraries are not exempted. So you need to be prepared for serious budget cuts. If you're already struggling with the little resources, you should be aware that we are going into a situation where the budgets are going to be cut so seriously. Now, what if we open our libraries tomorrow? Have you tried to pause and think about the space, the services? We need to reorganize our libraries. The social distancing. How do you observe social distancing in the library? Are you going to push out some furnitures? Are you going to redesign your circulation desk? So those are the challenges that librarians need to start thinking. Opening up libraries or releasing the lockdown will pose a new challenge. And before we even go back to our workplaces, you need to seriously think about it. Because of the economic issues, we need to be prepared for job losses. because of the change of the user behavior and the users being away from the library, we need to be prepared for skills redundant. If you are the best cataloger in the library, maybe when you open again, your function might not be very necessary as it were. I'm just sorry for the catalogers in the house. I'm just using as an example. But the skills we had, we need to develop new skills. I'm glad Arnold shared some of the ways we can gain those skills. Sorry for that. Then the user's apathy. Quite a number of libraries, if you ask the librarian to introduce himself, he will tell you we have 800 books, print books, we have these. But come to think of it, when you open up libraries, will the users be willing to share the print resources? What does that mean to the librarian? If the users develop apathy coming to the physical library, borrowing books, what does that mean to us? And last but not least, is the capacity, the inadequate capacity of the library and librarians. Are we in position to support the new change? Now, as we finish, I would want to finish on the positive note that in every challenge, there's always an opportunity. And it is upon us librarians to look at this COVID-19 not just as a challenge, but ask ourselves, what are some of the opportunities that COVID-19 presents to us as librarians and as libraries? I've tried to categorize the opportunities into two main categories. The first category is to the libraries. Library as an entity, that department, that division called the library. What does COVID-19 means to us? Number one, this is a very good opportunity for us to roll out new services, most especially the or ICT dependent services that had resistance before. I can assure you, even the old professors who were afraid of technology, now they have to be on ICT platform. And therefore, if you've been struggling to start e-support, e-reference services, data management service for the researchers, this is the best time to think about it. Then number two is the policy change. I'll use a Kenyan example. I don't know much about India. In Kenya, we have a policy that demands that before you are given a charter to operate as a university or a college, you must have a certain percentage of print books. Our policy has been very quiet, or it has been very unfair to electronic resources, especially e-books and e-journals. They ask that, yes, you need to have e-journals, but when you have e-books, they still insist that the core textbooks must be print. I think this is the best time to have that conversation, that it is possible to have a core textbook in electronic format. Again, I've said the economic challenge, but it is also time for us to renegotiate about our ICT budget. Everybody is going electronic. And therefore, if you had a request for e-resources that was pending somewhere, maybe this is the time to revisit and say our users are at home and they would want to access e-resources like other places. Please approve. So this could be a nice time to renegotiate our budgets for electronic resources. Then at least with the publishers, it's been very difficult for those who have been involved in negotiating to push the publishers to surrender the e-resources for perpetual access. You pay for a license. After a year, when you don't pay again, you don't access what you paid for in the previous year. Maybe this is the time to rethink and push the publishers for perpetual access to electronic resources. Once we pay, they should allow us to access those resources, even in the year where we've not paid. Let us be paying just for the new publications, but not for what we paid for in the previous year. And the last point for, of course, not the least, it's time to rethink about our discovery systems. Arnold already talked about MyLoft, mobile app where a student, a user, is able to work with the library in the pocket. Many of us are still stuck on the traditional catalogs, no problem about that. More powerful discovery tools which are more user-friendly. Then this is also a good time. I think I've already mentioned this, but it's also a good time to push our library staff into the new world. We've quite a number of, I don't know the experiences in your libraries, but we have one or two, you will always have one or two librarians who are stuck in the old. But now that everybody has moved, this is the time to push our staff also to be able to move to the new order, that is the e-world. Last but not least, we need to consider and use the monitoring and evaluation system, most especially on the e-resources. Argue using data. Data never lie. Learn how to pull down reports from the different databases that you've subscribed so that when you're arguing and asking for budgets, you are using the statistics to show that indeed users are using your resources. What are the opportunities for us as librarians? I have three. The first one, at least now we have some time. Of course, it is good to spend time with the family, and that is the most important thing. But other than just to spend the time with the family, it's time to learn a new skill, to collaborate, and that's why I'm really happy with this opportunity that we can have a forum with our colleagues from India. Maybe time to write a book, a paper, to try and publish. Remember, librarians are academic staff, and therefore we should also try to keep sharing the information as much as possible. Again, we need to reinvent ourselves. Everybody, in almost all organizations, there are meetings going on for people to be able to see how to start afresh, how to survive, how to live with COVID-19. Be there as the librarian, be part of the solution, and regain your rightful position in your organization. Last but not least, watch out for the training opportunities, especially online. Arnold mentioned quite a number of opportunities, and he also mentioned about the conferences. You can be sure that going forward, we are going to have very many more online conferences. We need to seize these opportunities so that we learn as much as possible. So in conclusion, post COVID-19, our libraries will never be the same again. The user and the library stakeholders have changed and rather have moved. The library and librarians must ensure that they are there where the users are, or else we risk to be replaced or to be forgotten. Thank you very much. If you forget everything that I've said this afternoon, please remember asante sana in Kiswahili means thank you. That is a Swahili word that you should not forget. May we all be safe to live and see the new face of the library post-COVID-19. Once again, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joel, for nice session. I'll just mute one. See, the main problem, just I want to sort this issue. The feedback link I have shared, you are definitely going to get certificate. Google is stopping to give the certificate after 100 entries. So those who have get the feedback form, maybe tomorrow you'll get the certificate. First, I have to end this webinar. Then I can go and I can see the settings. I have to just turn it on, and then automatically you are going to get the certificate. So don't worry about your certificate. Those who are here, you are definitely going to get the certificate. I'm keeping the form open for next 2 days. Don't worry, as the link is shared, I'm once again sharing the link in a chat box. You have to give this feedback form. Go to the chat box, give the feedback form, and then you will get the certificate either by today or by tomorrow. So don't worry. And those who are not still getting after tomorrow, you can mail me. My email ID is there. So don't worry. And now, Joel, Arnold, thank you. And we have a lot of people here. International crowd is there. So please wait. Don't do like this. We are professional. So please bear with us. And there are so many people from Kenya and other countries are there. So it was really nice session, Joel. And is there anyone is having any question for Joel or not? I think he's left. But is anyone have questions are there? So you can just ask. So okay. So my email ID I'll share. Don't worry about your certificate. My email ID is already in the. I'm just sharing my email ID. And I have to just start the setting. You are going to get your certificate automatically. I'm also going to share the people who gave the feedback form. So once you give the feedback form, your email ID automatically getting in my inbox. So I have all your email IDs, so I can share PPT to those people. Now, do you have any question for Arnold or Joel? You can ask or you can type it here. You can just unmute yourself. I'm not unmuting all because so many people are here. There will be chaos.
Am I audible?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, hi. This is Ria here, librarian in Pebble Creek Life School. First of all, thank you to arrange this session because it's really informative. If possible, we can get the presentation. It will be more better because sometimes the presentation was not visible. I have a question for both of them, though they are from Kenya. I would like to thank you for the session they have arranged, and of course to you also. So I just want to know what is the value of librarian in Kenya, because as we all know what is in India, what is going on, the librarians according to teaching profile is the comparison is too low. So what is there in Kenya, how they measure their school librarians, basically school librarians, because we all know school librarians are suffering from that stage, TGT, PGT, like they are not getting that same level of teaching because I don't know what's the, like, though we all are taking all classes, even we are taking more classes than compared to other teachers, because teachers, they took one class or two class, means one subject or two subjects, but librarians are those who take the whole school together at a time. So what is there in Kenya for the school librarians?
So your question is for Arnold or Joel?
Both of them, who all
Okay, you
whoever
both
can.
taking. Arnold or Joel, you both of you can take, no problem. Joel? Joel, are you there? Okay, yeah. Sorry, I have unmuted. Sorry, I have unmuted you. I am now unmuted. You can speak now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'll just maybe mention on the state of the school libraries in Kenya and the school librarians, but it's just an overview. One, most of our public schools don't have libraries. What they're using teachers to serve as teacher librarians. So for many primary and secondary schools, we don't have a provision to employ a librarian. At this time is when the librarians are trying to push the government to ensure that each and every school has a librarian. Now, for those working in private schools, many private schools have librarians. And the experience that I've heard from them is basically the same what I've heard. Very few schools have managed to put the librarian at par as teachers. Teachers are a bit low the way they are rated. But it depends from one school to the next.
Okay.
Those working in colleges, the vocation training, at least those ones, they are almost at par. The situation is not very different, but still the librarians are rated a bit low. The only institution where I have seen librarians and the faculty being at par at the university setup. In the university setup, like where I work, we have a structure that equates librarians to the academic staff. A university librarian is equivalent to a full professor. Deputy university librarian like myself, I'll be equated to an associate professor. Senior librarian, senior lecturer, like that. I don't know if that one answers your question. Thank you. If Arnold has something, you can still say something.
Yeah. Arnold, you want to add, or anybody is having any questions?
No, I think he's answered it correctly, so that's quite sufficient.
Any
Okay.
more question from participants?
Thank you for the information. So basically, I just want to know the schools that are hiring their teachers as a librarian, like they are using teachers for the librarians for those. So how the classification system, do they know or they are not following those?
Well, I know, and that is a whole debate, but likely enough, I have a program I run. Maybe we can still share more. But I have a program I run that has given me a chance to visit most of these schools.
Okay.
And
In
my experience is that it is a weak area. The books are not well managed. Of course, because they're not being managed by a librarian. And therefore, it is an area of concern. It's nothing to be able to say you can do it somewhere else. What is happening is not the right thing. The right thing would be, if you look at the investment that goes in the textbook programs, I hold a view that we can afford to employ school librarians so that the books, the investment that goes into the books does not go to waste. Otherwise, as it is now, it is not okay.
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 Thank you.
So thank you. And I think there is no questions from anybody. So once again, I'm thanking. Just I'll start my video. So once again, I'm thanking to Joel and Arnold for being here and for joining all for joining this session. And once again, I'm telling you the feedback and certificate link has been shared in a chat box, and you have to give the feedback, and automatically Google is releasing certificates. Though you are not getting certificate today, maybe you will get tomorrow. I have also shared my email ID with all. So thank you all. Thank you for joining this session and making this webinar successful. Thank you, Joel, and thank you, Arnold, for giving time to us, and thank you for a wonderful session. Bye-bye and take care. Bye. I'm closing this session now. Thank you all.